Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review and reaction for the premiere and episode 2 of Justified City Primeval. We have made it, everybody. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. Like, from the moment this show was announced, I think we all kind of felt like, okay, please be good. Please be good. Please be good. And, Oliphant was coming back. That was like another measure of hope and excitement.
Yeah, and it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, we are fans of the original Justified. It was so good, and I mean the bar was set really high with this because the original series was so good, and they completely delivered. I mean, first scene we have Raylan, guns blazing, kick down the door. What's good, everybody? Like, it was just so perfectly done. And they've set this series up really well for people who have never seen Justified, because really the main character from Justified, Raylan, he is over here on Primeval, but he's really the only person that you would need to know, because everybody else is brand new.
Yeah.
You can jump in. There is no, at this point anyways, there's no real connections to anything that was going on in the past. We also have a huge time jump, so beep bop boop, we are in the future, like 10 years.
I think the other reason I had a lot of hope for this show is like the moment that I saw that Dave Andron was like co-show running it, and for those guys who don't know, he was really the main creative force on like the later seasons of Snowfall, especially, which is just such an amazing show.
It's one of the best shows ever made. I absolutely love that show, which also explains why we have Amin Joseph in this show as well, because he was on Snowfall and he was amazing there too.
Do you think like FX's executives and like John Landgraf and these people were like, you are never leaving this network, Dave Andron. You were just going to continue to write for us.
And I'm fine with that, especially if they continue to put Amin in everything.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, I know, but this was a really great start to City Primeval. Like, there's a lot of awesome stuff we're gonna get into about what exactly make these two episodes so fire. But of course, before we get too far into this, if you're new to the channel, I am Matt Roast. This is Jessica Bun. We are gonna be here throughout all of the season, breaking everything down. So, hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of the coverage that we have of this. Also, we're still sticking at FX here to do What We Do in the Shadows, which is a show we just absolutely love.
I mean, FX is really bringing it with the shows. I mean, Snowfall, we just talked about that, Justified. What We Do in the Shadows is completely different than Justified, but it is so good if you're looking for like a good campy vampire show. It's hilarious.
We've also got Only Murders in the Building coming up as well, just in case you want to transition from watching Raylan kick down doors to Oliver and Charles and Mabel doing a podcast to solve a murder.
Exactly.
All right. So big picture, I think we can all agree what makes City Primeval really good 2 episodes in is just that Oliphant hasn't lost the step. Like he's very well aware of who Raylan is, what people like about Raylan, his, defiance, his charisma, just like seeing him strut around in the hat. It's interesting. He looks older, but at the same time, he really doesn't.
I know. It's like nothing has changed with him.
And
he's still just so smooth.
That I think anytime you have a character that like embodies that, you're going to be in on them really regardless of where they are. But also just having it be Detroit is so fascinating because like he keeps saying, oh, we're going to get back to Florida. We're going to get back to Miami in these episodes. Detroit is about as far from Miami as you can get, so it is sort of this nice fish out of water feeling where he doesn't know a lot of these people. He has to sort of get to know all of them on the fly while also taking on this big investigation now about the judge that has been set up within these episodes.
Yeah, they did a really good job at the beginning, sort of setting up the main characters and having Raylan meet everybody pretty early on because, someone's trying to take his car and, it turned into a big thing where he's like, I'm going to take you guys in. But first we're going to stop here at this camp and then we're going to stop here to get a burger and then we're going to bring you in sort of thing. And because of all this, we got to meet the judge right away, who is Keith David. Oh, what an amazing actor. If you guys haven't seen him over on Greenleaf, that's another show. I mean, it's been off the air for a while, but man, was he ever good on that. But we get to meet the judge. We also get to meet the lawyer, Carolyn, who, oh my goodness, Raylan and Carolyn, you guys just need to hook up.
Oh boy.
Like, oh my goodness. The chemistry is just off the charts with those two. But we got to sort of meet some of the main players right away.
I'm really excited about this ensemble just because everybody is strong-willed in their own way. Yeah, like Carolyn is very charismatic. She doesn't like suffer any fools, so
Mm-hmm.
she's going to be this sort of great person for Raylan to butt heads with. And yeah, I could see them hooking up, and I think
Oh, the chemistry is like, it's there.
the funniest thing about it though to me is that I could see them hooking up, and then the next day I could see her like going into court and completely screwing over anything that Raylan wants to do. Like she is not going to let anything affect what she does professionally, and Raylan is really that same way. Like if I have one major beef with these two episodes, it is how do you guys do Keith David like this? How do you kill off Keith David in 2 episodes? My Captain Anderson from Mass Effect, my favorite actor / voice actor. Okay,
He's
I don't know if he's all
amazing.
time, but he is like top 10 for me. I'm so upset. I'm inconsolable.
No, Keith David is a treasure, and to have him even just for these 2 episodes it was worth it. I understand that the characters needed to get killed off because
Yeah.
we had this first investigation that after everything that happened with Raylan, that the judge was kind of like, okay, we're gonna keep this guy around. My car got blown up. We're gonna keep him around to figure out what's going on. And as it turns out, the judge is sleeping with some guy's mom. And he's upset about it. So Raylan, is able to kind of, quiet that out, get it all together, find the guy. It's all sort of taken care of for him. But this judge is definitely got some shifty stuff going on, because there was that scene where the judge was kind of like, I know what's going on in the police department. You guys don't want stuff to be coming out. And we know that he's carrying this like pocketbook that's got a bunch of stuff in it that we don't
Yeah.
know exactly what it is yet, but he's definitely got stuff on people. And that's where it sort of comes in with Clement. Definite sane person Clement, who ends up sort of accidentally killing the judge in road rage. Like, what a coincidence.
Oh boy. Okay. So Clement is a very interesting character, and I think throughout a lot of this season, I think what they're really going to try to influence us on is this idea that Raylan could actually die. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen, because I don't know why you guys would want to eliminate the possibility of more after this, but I think they want that jeopardy to be there. And I think they're going to really push the envelope with this throughout a lot of the season, because Clement is a very unpredictable character from what little we have seen of him
Yes.
so far. I think one of their big pushes coming into this was, okay, if we're not going to have Boyd Crowder, because, last we all saw, Boyd Crowder was locked up, but if we're not
Yep.
going to have Boyd Crowder, we need to have a different enemy for Raylan that is every bit as interesting, but also different. We can't do Boyd all over again, because then we're all just going to compare him to Boyd.
Right, which is what I was doing a little bit, because while there, of course, are some differences between these two, there are some similarities. They are both very charismatic and unpredictable in a lot of different ways. But for me, I mean, Boyd was a lot more smooth than this,
Yeah.
and he was able to he had even more charisma in a way that he could really gather people around him as his flock, influence people, where Clement's not really in that same way. Like, yeah, he's got his partner in crime, Sandy, but it's not exactly the same way where he's able to bring people in with charm. He's bringing people in with fear.
Here's how I like to think about it, is that I think Boyd starts a fire to bring other people in and to tell them stories around the fire to get them to join in what he's doing. Clement just wants to start a fire. Like, he wants to watch the world burn a little bit. And, there are some people who will flock to that just by virtue of having like the same sort of like, philosophical beliefs. But I think at the end of the day, he's a very self-serving dude. He's somebody who is going to be out for whatever it is he wants, whenever it is he wants to do it. And it doesn't even matter to him, like, if it's something that is going to keep him that safe. Like, everything that happens with, Raylan's daughter that sets the stage for this like confrontation with him and Raylan near the end of these 2 episodes. Like, this is such a risky, like crazy thing for somebody like him to do so early after Raylan has come up, and he's like, he's still doing it. This man has no chill.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of sort of ruffles with Raylan and Clement now where they know that each other are around.
Yeah.
They're, he knows that Raylan's kind of looking into him. So here's my tinfoil hat theory about the daughter.
Yeah.
So we end up at the end of episode 2 where Clement is sitting there with Raylan's daughter. He's gotten her to come out of, the hotel room, picked her up, whatever, brought her down to the bar down at the bottom of the restaurant. Yeah. He's got his arm around her and he's egging on Raylan to make him really pissed off enough that outside Raylan starts pounding on him.
Yeah.
I think this is Clement's way of getting a restraining order against him to try to stop him from looking into him. That if he could egg him on enough and, pull at him enough, that he would do this. And now he's got cause to go to his lawyer and be like, look at what Raylan did to me. I didn't do anything. I'm innocent here. I need a restraining order. He can't come near me. And to make the investigation way more difficult into what he's done to the judge.
I think, I'll keep the tinfoil hat on here. Okay. Is that I think one of the big themes of this show is just going to be the idea of rot, where there's so much rotting within this place. I mean, it all comes back to the title of this show, is that how are you going to find a way to eradicate the rot? And is Raylan going to be the person who can actually do it? Because the fact that a guy like Clement is still out there and can sort of take this situation and twist it into something you're suggesting, it's another reminder of just like how rotten a certain part of this system can end up being, where here you have a clearly terrible person who is trying to just sort of set up and use certain aspects of who Raylan is against him, just in the way in which he's already used a lot of the system against him. And, it's already been very strongly suggested. Once again, you mentioned it with the judge in the book that there's a lot of rot that's existing within the police system, probably within the local institutions. And I think this is going to be the stuff that this show really explores and dives into. And I think the question then there is that, is Raylan really the right person to be looking into all of this? Because this is a man who is very much morally ambiguous in his own way. Like, this is not a prototypical Captain America. And I think the question here is that good? That there's somebody like this who can sort of understand that everybody exists within a gray area? Or is he really not going to be able to finish the job just because he's not going to be able to maybe identify all of the problems in a way that someone would who only sees the world in black and white?
Yeah, and I think with Clement having the judge's book now, which to me feels like it's like some sort of a blackmail book, like he doesn't understand everything that's in it yet. But once he's able to kind of crack the code and figure it out, I mean, this could basically be like the new blacklist, where there's like 200 names of important people that now this guy has blackmail on.
And he's going to be very effective based on what little we have seen of him and Sandy. Like, I'm not saying he's got 100-person empire or anything like that, but he's got people who will be willing to do some things for him. And that's going to make him a pretty formidable adversary.
Yeah, because he's got something on Carolyn. I mean, she's working with him as his lawyer, but at the same time, like, it feels like there's a little bit of fear there, because even Raylan came in afterwards and was like, "Are you okay?" And she's just like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Whatever's going on, it's not your business," kind of thing. Yeah. Then there's everything that's going on with Sweetie. And we saw that there's, history there with him and Clement, and like that Sweetie ended up sort of seemingly turning him in after everything that happened. But there's still like a fear there that's with him. I mean, even Sandy, who's, with him, has a fear that's going on with him because he's just so unpredictable. And he is someone that can snap like that. Definite sane person.
This is what makes the show exist really well, I think, on two different fronts, is that on the surface level front, you're going to have Raylan versus Clement. You're going to have this cat and mouse game where, Clement's throwing other people in front of him as shields and trying to manipulate everybody into getting what it is he wants. And for all of us who like these action thrillers, and odds are you do if you were watching Justified, or
Yeah.
like this show is really going to succeed at that based on what we have seen so far. But like all the like insidiousness that they're like poking at underneath the surface, where like everybody's got all of these secrets, everybody's gonna try to find a way to protect them. Like this is where the other jeopardy comes into all of this for Raylan, where it's like, yeah, I think Clement's obviously gonna try to take him down, and
Hmm.
these other people want help probably from Raylan, but at what expense? Like, what are they going to lose in order to win? Like, I want to see a situation where maybe Raylan is with Carolyn, and maybe Carolyn does have some sort of secret that she's trying to hide, and he's like, I can help you, but this secret's gonna have to come out. And like,
Is
what if
that your Raylan?
I was going just a little bit of Raylan in here. See, it's not really Raylan, it's just like me doing a southern accent. But like I think that's
You are from Texas.
there we go. I will allow it, which is good because I'm the one saying it. But no, I really think they are going to steer a little bit into this direction where other people are going to feel threatened by Raylan because of what he's going to end up exposing about them in his own pursuit of justice.
All right, it's time to put on the hard hat. We're
Boy.
16
All
minutes
right,
in
all
here.
right.
Of the part of the show that just didn't work for me, and it really hurts my heart to say this, because this is Timothy's actual daughter playing his daughter on the show.
Yeah.
This part of the show, him having his daughter there, just didn't work. And the reason that it didn't work for me is that it just didn't really thread into anything else that couldn't have reached that same goal another way. It felt like the reason she was there to get to this moment with Clement where they get into that fight. And there could have been like multiple reasons that Raylan decides to punch out Clement.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's Clement. So, multiple reasons that he would end up going over the edge. We spend so much time with this daughter who's like, rebellious. She's a teenager,
Yeah.
it's the way that's going to be. Sort of the stereotypical teenager, doesn't listen to your dad, stay at the hotel. No, I'm going to wander around, do this and buy a watch and walk through a warehouse. And like, it was just kind of like, I didn't need to spend time doing that to get to this point that Raylan punches Clement. It wasn't needed for me. It didn't bring anything to me as far as Raylan the character or Raylan the father.
I'm just going to submit here that me as a 36-year-old person, I'm not walking alone in a warehouse. I'm just throwing that out there. It doesn't matter what age I am. I'm not like going to some other city.
Oh, I agree. I'm almost 50 years old and I'm not going to be walking
No.
through a warehouse in a place that I don't know.
So here's the thing with why I thought the daughter Willow was there. And, this is something we even talked a little bit about in Walking Dead, Dead City that we're also doing at the channel. Is just that I think there's this real desire in these shows that have these big time jumps. That's like, okay, we have to bring you something to show and symbolize the passage of time. And, we see that on Dead City with the Jenny character. And I think here they wanted to give Raylan a different dynamic. And so they brought in Willa. I mean, it's even to a certain extent, think back on like Dexter New Blood, we have Harrison in there. And I will argue that Harrison is much more effective than I think Willa is so far on Justified City Primeval.
Yes,
but
he was.
I think it's really this, okay, we need to find a way to make it seem like this is a different person. Things have changed. Stakes are different. And I do understand all of that. It's just, I think it is so easy with a show like this to kind of just fall back into the typical sort of pitfalls of having like a teenage character in this world where, inherently they're not going to understand everything because they're so young. Even like somebody who is a descendant of Raylan is not really going to understand everything. Yeah, they're going to be a little bit rebellious, but it's just that there's a couple of boxes that it feels like every show needs to check off with this sort of character. And it never feels new. It never really feels that exciting. I mean, like other than a few exceptions, I think Game of Thrones is a really good one where you have like all those young characters who are really distinct and interesting. It's really hard to do something super original. And I just think with this particular world, it's not really adding that much for me.
No, and it does feel like kind of the recycled bratty kind of character, teenaged, angsty, I do what I want. Here with Willa, we're seeing it on Walking Dead, Dead City with Ginny, even with Herschel, he's, angsty teenager. It's just
Yeah.
like, Yes, some teenagers are angsty and a pain in the you know what, but it doesn't need to just be the same thing over and there is more to being a teenager than
Yes.
just going through it. Like there's yes, there's that, but there's lots of good moments too where it's just not just whatever my parents say I'm going against it. I mean, I wasn't like that type of teenager. I'm not saying I was an angel or anything, but like what my mom said goes. And if my mom, on top of that, was a marshal and that type of job is really dangerous, I would understand that that means that I could be a target for things. And I'm sure that Raylan taught her that.
Yeah.
The whole like, don't talk to strangers. Like, if somebody calls up to the room and is like, hey, I'm your dad's friend, the answer is no, hang up. Like, you've been around long enough, even if you're splitting your time between Raylan and your mom, like, you know certain things, like, don't go with strangers. You're like 15 years old.
If I was, let's say I am Raylan's son, everybody. Hi, I'm Matt Givens. Here's what I'm gonna do.
Please don't unsubscribe, guys.
I'm gonna stay in the hotel. I'm gonna order some pizza. I'm gonna watch like 30 hours of television.
Well, it looks like that's what she was doing already.
Listen, I'm not leaving. I am just gonna stay there, enjoy my pizza, have a good time, and sleep. I'm not wandering the city by myself. I ain't doing any of this.
No, I just feel Bosch is a good example of that. They have another same sort of dynamic, Bosch and his kid. And she's, a young woman. I think she's like maybe first year college or something like that. But that dynamic made more sense to me. He's been a cop for a really long time, and she understands the dangers of his job. So even though she might have some of those teenage angsty moments, she understands that there is a danger that's connected to her because of what her dad does for a living. And that felt like one of the more like real relationships with sort of that teenage character and a detective type father, that even though you might kind of want to be rebellious, you still understand the dangers that surround you.
I hope that City Primeval figures some of this out. Like, we are still early enough. There's plenty of time to redeem thyself when it comes to the daughter character.
But the rest of the show is excellent. This, like, the premiere was incredible. The second episode just kept it rolling.
Yeah.
They've got really good setups of the characters, Raylan's relationship with Carolyn, everything that's going on with Clement, like Sweetie. Like, there are some really, really good characters. I'm so excited for the show.
I am too. I'm ready to get this rolling here. So hit that subscribe button, hang out with us, all season long. We're going to have a really good old time getting into everything with Justified. Let's hope it's crazy and filled with all sorts of great twists.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you to all of our patrons for your support. We will see you here next time.